Hello, I'm Svitek, 360 Creative Coach, and welcome to my blog, where it's both my mission and my pleasure to highlight my creative journey, all in the hopes of inspiring you and giving you specific takeaway, so that way your journey can be a little bit easier. Now, before I fully get into it, I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to subscribe if you haven't already, that way you get all the various lessons and episodes that I put out right when I put them out. Thank you if you just did, and thank you if you already were. It truly does mean a lot to me, as I hope it does to you. So, last week, can kind of be divided into three categories. The creative side, right? And the creative side being primarily working towards my upcoming second feature film. The second one kind of being personal, and I'll talk about that. It's in relation to my pet. And then something kind of exciting that's, I won't call it a side project, but something that's, not necessarily a charity either, but something exciting, right? That I think you will also be able to benefit from, and I can't wait to talk about that. So those are the kind of three things that I will encompass today. So let's start with the first one, right? The creative side. As far as last week, the main thing that I wasn't necessarily involved in, but it was a big push to have completed, or at least have a very close to draft, is the filming schedule, right? The filming schedule will help me kind of just visualize what's where and so forth. And so, one of the producers, Kenny Harrison, who's working on the movie, that was his, role to take the script and make sure we can, film it in the time that we need to. And so he did that, and that came back in. And so, overall, I kind of looked at it, and now we're going to make some adjustments based on his recommendations, and we're going to really talk about that in this coming week, right? But it was a big milestone to have finished up this past week, right? Creatively, for me, we had another rehearsal this week with everybody, and that it was a good step forward. In a lot of ways, we kind of we took a step back to go two steps forward. Like that old saying, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Well, we took a step back and kind of reevaluate how we were going about rehearsals, and to see how we can better maximize everyone's time and efforts within those time periods. And so I think we came to a really good place, and just even in that session that we were together, it was coming together really nicely. And so moving forward, we'll work based on that protocol, if you will. And so that was good. And that's the thing of all of this. Like, you try certain things. It works, it doesn't. You keep what works, you adjust what doesn't, and you keep pushing forward, right? And that's kind of the fun of it all, ultimately, for me, is, you just test out certain things, especially it's rehearsals, right? So it is about, trying new things and seeing where you get to, right? And having that ability to play, because once you're on set, you kind of lose that, and you have to utilize the time that you have to get all the coverage and film everything that you need to tell the story, right? And that's a lot of pressure on everyone, the producers, the actors, the director, and the rest of the crew. So, now with the rehearsals, that's kind of what we're doing, is just allowing ourselves to really go forward, and just try things, right? And so, so I think it's always great for me to have just a melding of the minds, just kind of, we talk it out. Sometimes, just in general, right? Sometimes there can be some tension towards things initially, but I think if everyone's spirit is in the right place, then you get to a place that's workable. And that sort of, I think people just in general, I'm someone that's a big advocate of having diversity of thought. And that coming together of ideologies and kind of push and pull of it all. I think that's what we talk about when we talk about the diversity of ideas. and what ultimately makes the best product. So, something to keep in mind on your things as well. It's not good to just have yes men or things like that. It's always, just the idea of questioning it, of like, okay, and, granted, like I said, you got to know when it's appropriate to do that and when it's not. But now here, we have that opportunity to really examine things, more closely from different angles and see what that looks like. And that's the exciting part. So, we're going to move forward and continue that. The other kind of aspect of it is we're going to be this coming week. This past week, I was really getting in touch with each of the actors so that way we can schedule an individual meeting to talk about, production as well as feedback on, the character and kind of get into the nitty gritty because, in these rehearsals, we're talking about scene by scene and kind of specifics of, the overall characters, right? But we're not deep diving on each of the people themselves. And so, we're kind of planning, like last week, we scheduled it out. And so this week now we're going to execute those one-on-one meetings, like I said, to talk about, the final stuff in preparation of the logistics, since we're like 2 months away, as well as the creative side. So looking forward to those. The other big thing that was, a huge milestone is that Jonathan Moulton and I, he's running the other camera. So we're like basically co-DPing. I'm lead DP, he's co-DP. I don't particularly like labels, but we just basically like we're both doing the same thing, right? It's no different than if a movie can have two directors, why can't you have two DPs type of thing? I don't know. But anyway, so we had a Zoom meeting where we watched the rehearsal edit. We had the script open, we had the shot list that I had created, and we went through it piece by piece so that way we could start to get inside each other's heads. He could see what I'm thinking, as a director, what I want to capture, and then we're talking about how to achieve that, and knowing of like, okay, if someone's covering something, if someone needs to readjust, just kind of that quick glance over of like, okay, I got you, boom, boom, readjust, because for me, I shoot very frenetically. And, as I kind of told Jonathan, in terms of a lot of the coverage, there's a lot of movement in terms of the blocking. And so, I might say like medium shot of this character, but really, it's not like, okay, the person's just sitting down and the camera's on him the entire time. Like that person's getting up, moving about. And so it's really just tracking him. And so that ability to get cool, interesting coverage within that, right? That becomes the art of it all. And making sure that when, actors cross, that we don't get in each other's way, where we don't get in front of the camera. So, or if, let's say I cross his camera, knowing that like, okay, we're going to be utilizing my shot or vice versa. So that way, when those instances do happen, we know like, okay, that was a necessity and not like just an accident, right? Because, if you need to do that, then I think you're, by all means, someone can do that, but it's not the end of the world. For example, I told him, there's one instance where there's two characters and they're sitting, and, I would be getting kind of more of a true two shot. And I told him he has the ability to kind of go back and forth and angle it where it's an angled two shot, with the focus on one character over another. And within the scene, the scene starts off with an emphasis on one character, but really moves to the other. And so that ability to shift behind me, I said, you can rotate behind me. And as you do that, you're gonna break the moment because you're gonna see me, but that's okay. Just cross. And then, boom, we'll pick up coverage on your shot there when we need to. And literally, like, as of now, we have about 800 or so plotted out shots. So, it took us quite a while in this Zoom. The rehearsal edit is like an hour and 50, because it just breathes, and obviously there's not like coverage to, tighten things. So, that was an hour and 50 in general, and we did a lot of start and stopping and things like that. And we also we would also reference movies and things like that. Maybe watch a clip here and there of something else to use as an example and, visualize it for ourselves. And so in that way, it ended up being like, we started at 1 o'clock. I think we got done at around like 7:30, maybe 8. So a long time, right? But well worth it. And, we're just going to kind of continue the conversation. We're gonna pre-film this one segment that's against the green screen. We're gonna film that in LA, the weekend of September 25th. So that'll be, Jonathan and I will also be able to get in a groove there. We also joked about doing some camera exercises where, we'll have like 3 objects placed at various depths, right, or length, whatever you want to call it. And, we'll kind of, both be on a camera and record of like, okay, who can basically rack focus from one to the next as quickly as possible, while making it look sharp, can have like basically like a cameraman's Olympics, if you will, right? So we talked about that, and, it's all in good fun, because at the end of the day, it's not about who's better or worse. It's just about learning and getting better together, and also too, seeing who is, if Jonathan's better than me at rack focusing faster and more accurately, then it's like, okay, give him those things versus me, right? So yeah, it's all just part of the learning process, so we get to a place that works, that we can do our best work collectively, that's what it's really all about. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. As far as the personal stuff, so I talked about, that I mentioned at the top, I have a dog named Chloe, and, a lot of people confuse her for a puppy because, she looks very, very young and very healthy. However, she's not. She's 13 or so years old, and, she's a rescue, so there's much information, so it's all speculative. But we know that she is about 13, right? And, as part of that, comes old age, right? And so she's dealing with some stuff. She's had a pinched nerve in her neck for a while that we've been dealing with. And, it's just kind of, I don't think it's something, as time goes by, I don't think it's something that will go away. It's more something to be managed. And so in that sense, you do what you can. So it's I don't know what it's like in other parts of the U.S., but right now, because of the pandemic here, like to get a vet and schedule a vet is just it's like a 2 to 3 week. You have to schedule it 2 to 3 weeks in advance, and that's really tough because it's like, technically they ask you as an emergency, and it's like it's not an emergency, but like certainly. There was like a day last week when she was like limping and dragging her foot and things like that. And it's like, well, I don't know. It's like she's not in immediate pain. I don't think she's going to like die, but it is scary. And yeah, I would like to get it figured out sooner rather than later. And so at the suggestion of one of my friends, Morgan Lester, thank you, Morgan, she turned me on to this vet who does like acupuncture as part of their healing and so forth. So I did that, and luckily they had they had walk-ins, so I was able to drop her off, and then they got her in by the end of the day. And so now, she's kind of going to be on that program where she's going to do acupuncture consecutively for a few weeks, and then just to really, really help that, and then we can start to ease that. But to get the true benefits, kind of just going right at it and getting her in there. Part of that is also, we did some x-rays, we're waiting on those. Like I said, just things in general now, it's tough. My heart goes out to pet owners who are dealing with, stuff of any kind. It's not easy, the x-rays haven't come back yet. So like I said, everything's just taking time because of COVID. So, but there was that. This Wednesday, going to a neurologist with her just to check that out. And just really get all the information that we can, so that way the best decisions for health can be made. So yeah, and one of the things really why I bring this up is because, it's especially, for a pet, you can't really communicate with them in the natural way of like, hey, what's hurting you, or like, what would be your preference of things, do you want to do X, Y, and Z? Do you want to kind of write it out, like, give them a choice, right? In this sense, like, you are essentially their caretaker and you're trying to make the best decisions, and certainly your mind, like in all things, can wander towards the worst, but really just taking that step back and be like, you know what, here's what we do know so far. Let's kind of continue on the game plan, and just continue to collect more data and make the most appropriate decisions based on that. That's kind of really what it's all about. And all things considered, I'm not sure how long ultimately she will live. I certainly hope a good long while, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. In a lot of ways, I think more and more as I go through life, I try to divorce myself of outcome and just focus on process. So, certainly that applies creatively, but I think it applies in life in this sense too, because, what you would want to do, like I said, rather than get worked up over, how long or short she might have to live, it's just giving her the quality of life, focusing on what one can do, and, going from there. And, where it goes from there, I'm not sure, but, but if you focus on that, then it's the best you can do, and, that's it. That's the reality of the situation. So, and I think ultimately that does, when you focus on the process, that gives you better results, but you can't focus on the result, because then you don't get the result that it's a weird paradox. So take that for what it's worth. But finally, I want to end on, I didn't mean to bring it down, but that's just life. These are all things that have to be faced in life. And so I want to end on something positive, right? So, I've spoken in the past oftentimes about the importance of getting your finances in order, and really understanding budgeting, investing, saving, all these different things that go into being, ultimately financially free. And, we all have to start somewhere. It's no different than working out. Like if you want to get to, better shape, well, that doesn't happen overnight. You have to take the steps to do it. And yes, at first it can be hard. But becoming financially fit is no different. And, that's why, I've always been a fan of the Financially Fit Foundation and everything that they do. And they have a wonderful book called Save Yourself. SAVE being an acronym for spend in alignment with your values and not your ego. And, very recently I was invited to ultimately participate and see how we can work together, and build Financially Fit Foundation into something greater. And, it's exciting for me because it's a message that I strongly believe in. And also, not only am I going to be able to help a lot of artists and just people in general get financially fit, but also too, part of that is me going to learn, right? There's a lot of the principles, the reason why I'm able to do the creative stuff that I'm able to do is because, of the direct link to the Financially Fit Foundation and the things that they taught me. However, much like I have this wealth of knowledge that I can talk about and keep putting out episode by episode, they have a tremendous amount of information. Like the stuff that I learned really just kind of scratches the surface, and so forth, right? And, now a lot of their big focus is also on couples, and how couples, because it's one of the things that oddly enough is a taboo subject for couples, especially at a beginning relationship, to talk about finances. And so, one of their focuses now is how to talk to your partner about finances, whether it's a starting off relationship or certainly in marriage. Like, that should definitely be talked about. And so they've got an approach to be able to do that and so forth. And for me, it's exciting to be able to learn that, because I want to be better at these things. And, as I take steps forward in, my life, entering a relationship and, progressing that relationship, perhaps marriage and so forth, I want to be able to have that information. It's almost like that saying, failing to prepare is preparing to fail, And so it's like, no, it's not, I'm not jumping the gun in any sort of way, because this is useful information that I will want in my life, and to be aware of. Now, I say all this, but you might be in a situation where you are in a relationship and so forth, or in a marriage, whatever the case may be, and you're like, ooh, okay, yeah, I would like to know more as well. And so for that benefit, I highly encourage you to check out the Financially Fit Foundation. In fact, I've linked to it below and so forth, and check out all the various resources and classes and so forth that they do have, because this is the type of stuff that you benefit from. And it truly is wonderful that they are a resource out there, and they're very knowledgeable and so forth. And as someone who's applied their principles in just the small aspects that I have, it's tremendously helped me. And so that's why I'm excited to learn this myself, but also I know what it can do for other people when they apply it in their life. So, that's exciting to me, to be able to, I think the greatest gift, we can really give to people is to set them up to be financially fit. So that's exciting to me to be part of that mission. So anyway, that's kind of what I've got going on. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and tune in. As always, if you have any questions or thoughts of your own, please share them down in the comments section, or hit me up on social media at Svitek. Would love to converse with you. It could be about the stuff that I talked about. It could be about anything else as well, that you might have questions on or thoughts about. So thank you. I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.